Alright guys, today I want to talk about great movie scenes. And not just great movie scenes, but what makes a movie scene great. Now obviously this is a bit subjective when it comes to someone's favorite scene. We all have our favorites, and we all have favorites for different reasons. Some of our favorite scenes are due to great performances, like the diner scene in Heat where Al Pacino and Robert De Niro finally come face to face for the first time. Other times our favorite scenes are due to great stunts, like the scene in Mission Impossible Fallout where Tom Cruise jumps out of the plane without a parachute and it's shot all in one take. I mean, I remember seeing that scene in theaters and it just took my breath away. Or maybe it's a great scene because there's a great speech or monologue, like in Gladiator or Braveheart. But today I want to try and quantify what makes a great scene from a writing perspective. And the scene I want to nominate or highlight as being one of the best scenes in film history is from the movie The Verdict, starring Paul Newman. Now, before we break down the scene and I explain why I think it's one of the greatest scenes in film history, we need to do a little background on the movie itself. The Verdict is another great courtroom drama directed by Sidney Lumet, which you may recognize as the director of 12 Angry Men. Paul Newman plays a once promising attorney named Frank Galvin, who now at this stage in his career is what they call an ambulance chaser. He's just looking to find easy settlement cases. He's just trying to make a buck. He's not trying to fight for truth or justice or anything like that. He's just trying to make money. At the beginning, his former partner lines him up with an slam dunk medical malpractice suit, which should settle easily outside of court. This particular case involves a young woman who is left in a coma due to a complication with the anesthesia she received during childbirth. Since the birth took place at a Catholic hospital, the local diocese is the one that is involved in the case, and that is who he would settle with. Now, this all changes when Frank finally goes to see the young woman in question at the hospital. Okay, here's the scene. Are you ready? Now, I must warn you, there's no great fight, there's no special effects, there's no stunt, there's nothing like that. There's actually hardly any dialogue. The scene involves Frank going into the hospital, seeing the young woman in a coma, and just taking pictures of her. Okay, I know what you're thinking. That's the greatest scene in history, but hold on. Okay, now let's step back to analyzing what makes a scene great. Now, according to John Truby in his book, The Anatomy of Story, to construct any scene, you must always achieve two objectives. First, determine how it fits into and furthers the overall development of the hero. And two, make it a good mini-story. So, according to Truby, a scene should further the arc of the hero, but it should also be its own story in and of itself. It should have a beginning, middle, and end. It should have a resolution. So let's see if our scene does that. I think it's important to remember that when this scene starts, Frank is still determined to settle the case. But we watch as Frank slowly takes photos. He stops and he slows down and he actually looks at this young woman as a human, as someone who has been hurt. And my favorite part of the scene is as the photo, as the Polaroid is literally developing, we see Frank just as slowly develop his own thoughts about the case. And as the photo comes into focus, his own feelings of this young woman come into shape as well. He starts to see her as a human who has been hurt and needs defending. So although this scene is rather short and it doesn't have really any dialogue, doesn't have any glitz or glamour, no fights, no action, we can actually see Frank slowly change as a character along with the Polaroids as they change and develop. And this mirrors the overall journey as Frank as a character. When we first see him in the movie, he's a drunk, he's not doing anything important, he's just trying to make a quick buck, he's an ambulance chaser after all. But it's with this case that Frank sees not only a chance to redeem his career, but to redeem his soul as a person. And it's here in this scene that it fully clicks for Frank for the first time. But you can also see how this works as a mini story because, like I said, there is an arc here. He enters the hospital room just trying to make a buck, and then he leaves saying this.
I'm her attorney.
I think this scene is great not only for the film itself, but for a larger reason, it's a great scene in the history of cinema for this very reason, that it acts as a meta commentary on what film does itself. Now, I already mentioned that in this scene we can see the Polaroids finally develop in real time, but if you step back and you examine what we're actually watching, we're watching film develop through film. We're seeing 24 pictures, 24 frames per second watch as other film develops in real time. And not only is the film itself developing, but so are the emotions and feelings of our hero, of Frank. And isn't this what movies are? We watch scenes and pictures be fed through a projector at 24 frames per second, and those changes in the film create changes within us. We watch these actors playing these random different characters, people we don't know, and we slowly over time develop feelings and emotions, and we go on journeys, and we start thinking one way about these people, and we end thinking something completely different. Right here in this scene in The Verdict, we have not only a change within Frank and a perfect encapsulation of his journey, but we get an encapsulation of the journey of the history of film itself. I don't know, maybe I'm just waxing poetic and making something meta that shouldn't be, but every time I watch this movie and see this scene, it always moves me. It moves me not only for Frank's journey, but it moves me and reminds me that that's what film is about. It's about our feelings developing right along with the film, and I think that's magical. Alright, that's one of my favorite scenes in movie history. I want to know what your favorite scene in movie history is. Please comment below. And also, if you've never seen Sidney Lumet's The Verdict, please watch it. It's really good. It's a great rainy day movie. And if you've never read John Truby's book, give it a read. Alright, again, I'm Andrew. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Letterboxd. That's what I got for you this week. Stay tuned for my next video. See ya.